Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tech and Tactile podcast. Here with hopefully free of all bugs and corrupted files. As always, I'm Cody, and I'm joined with Michael, my little brother.
We're back.
Yes, absolutely. And my God, I there's so much to talk about, but I wanted to start this out with a question that was asked to us about what we think about the death of Windows 10. And quite honestly, I mean, it's a damn shame. I think that there are a lot of computers out there that honestly are like they have the really good capabilities of being great computers, but the motherboards that they come with just don't meet the requirements of Windows 11. I guess because they don't have secure boot or something like.
It's
But
TPM.
like that doesn't.
The specifics that is on the motherboard hardware requirements for what Windows 11 does get wrong, unfortunately, is it requires a TPM of 2.0 or newer for its board with its CPUs and such, which excluded millions of PCs from the market as soon as they dropped that as a stability point of Windows 11.
Like, I don't know if Microsoft knows this, but like, offices at businesses and stuff like that don't get the bleeding edge of motherboards and shit like that. You get your basic ass potato computers that could, run your damn word processors and log into Slack or whatever else like people use for their stuff. Like, you basically just need little potato computers. You don't need something super powerful to do that. And like, I don't know. It's really shitty of them. Not only is it really shitty of them, but they've been really messing up the whole process of keeping, I guess, whatever it is, like their little security updates that you can opt into. Right. They broke that a few times. As far as I remember. They
caused a couple DDoSes.
Oh yeah, oh my God, the DDoSes were insane. I mean, the death of Windows 10 has been handled as gracefully as a brick falling through a fucking skylight. Like, it is, I mean, it's so bad. There's so many, like, I have we recently, like, I was working on a computer that I'd gotten a beast of a workstation with like 32 gigs of RAM and all kinds of like bells and whistles put into it. It was like a laptop that was modularized to hell, like just so much good shit put into it. It just did not meet that requirement to upgrade to Windows 11. And this person thought that their computer was going to basically be scrapped and that they were going to have to, throw it into like, a wood chipper or whatever, just, bite the bullet and get a new damn PC. And I introduced them to Linux Mint, and I mean they don't regret a thing anymore, and their computer basically is like a brand new machine, which I'd love to get into. But is there anything that you'd like to talk about Windows 10, like the death of it specifically? Because I know you have a lot more information out there, like. And you're also in an IT class, so yeah, I'm sure you hear a lot more shit than I do.
So the official death date of Windows 10 as we know it was October 14th of this year, 2025. Really, honestly, as far as Windows 10 as a kind of an OS stability standpoint versus how new Windows 11 is you really lose that decade era of a couple things. You know, stability, flexibility, and its kind of user base with its user trust, because you gotta remember, Windows 10 has been around for it had a decade of refinement, pretty much, making it like, while yes, it didn't start out like as the top notch, but over this decade that 10 had to be what it became at the end of its life cycle, it was
Years of Windows 10.
Yeah, it was a decade. I don't know what the exact date to date is of Windows 10 off the top of my head, but it was well into a decade, if not a little bit more. It was one of their most reliable OSs as time went on, because again, you had that user feedback, and that was just this continuous circle of being able to look at what people were running on and seeing how they could adapt that. And really, kind of to use your brick falling through a skylight analogy, they literally took this Windows 10 brick and everything, that they kind of stood for on their foundation of their old OS and just threw it away like it was trash and started completely with what Windows 11 is now. Again, there's so many issues that you can talk about for days, because again, you've got the hardware lockout for TPM 2.0 and the CPU restrictions that come with that, which cuts off those older machines that, most Americans had, because, not everybody is able to go out to your nearest Best Buy or whatever and buy a $1,700 to $2,000 laptop or desktop, what have you. Because you got to remember, because like everything is what the user has to get into, and really with what Windows 11 kind of brought in as an approach was kind of really like I guess for lack of a better word, you could call it a cash grab, because like not everyone had this. So I think Microsoft kind of realized that, and they were like, oh, let's see how much more money we can get people to buy for our new Surface laptops that have TPM 2.0, because you lose a lot of stuff. Probably I would say my first really big frustration when it came to, I guess, what Windows 11 got wrong that I first noticed is you have a reduced right-click menu. Used to, before, when you right-clicked on Windows 10, every option would pop up on that thing. But now, it's really, I'm blanking on the word, but it's really kind of restricted, and you have to hit the show more options button on the right click menu to see everything else, which I find really dumb, because like, the removal of being able to like, your right click menu and your ability to like easily drag and drop stuff was just really bad. And kind of what I'll lead into with you as well to kind of speak on as well, that was really big, that we both noticed, especially like how me and you are always going around tinkering with stuff and helping people out with their odds and ends, was the fact that, Microsoft has now forced having a Microsoft account sign in with no more locals.
Yeah, that was really, really freaking annoying. And also, just to touch one thing on like the price of computers. I mean, if you wanted to get a basic ass Windows 11 laptop for your business, or for like, doing little things, you can get one for like, $400 or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you can go down to your local Best Buy. It's not going to cost you too much of an arm and a leg, but I mean, unless you're going for something with gaming focus. But I mean, if you're just looking for stuff, like obviously you're going to find stuff cheaper. So like whenever you're talking about your huge prices and everything, it's not like you're going to have to buy, it's not going to cost an arm and a leg to get a machine running 11. But the point is that the machine that you have, why the hell should this machine that you have, especially if you only use it for basic purposes,
right?
Like, why should it have to die because it doesn't meet just that one little requirement for your OS? It's kind of like the great thing about Windows 10 that I'll get into before we talk about some of the odds and ends is that thing could run on a potato. Like they had 32-bit versions, and I get 32-bit machines are basically like, they're not really being phased anymore. Like it's all about 64 based machines now. Obviously, because I mean, like, who's going to rock a 32-bit system in 2025? If you do, then I would really like to know. And please make yourself known, because you're a legend. Okay, if you're still running on a 32-bit system, I need to know, like, what you're probably doing some crazy shit out there, and I would love to see it. But yeah, Windows 10 could run on a potato, and then it could run on a beast. Like it was a very, very flexible, and it's really sad to see that go, because Windows 11, you do need a little bit of requirements, and I think that they're just I don't think that Windows 11 should require what it needs to run at all. But back to what you were talking about with the Microsoft account, the forcing and no more local files. I mean, there's so much that I hate about this, and one of the big things is it feels like you don't even own an OS whenever you purchase a license for Windows 11. It feels like you basically have one advertisement thing, like a big advertisement OS. Like you sign into your Microsoft account, and then everything you freaking do, you go to your start menu, or you like, you look up things, and you're just seeing fucking ads everywhere. I mean, it's ridiculous.
How many times can you see a pop-up for Microsoft Office 365 suite in one OS?
Take a drinking game every time you open up your thing, and you see an ad for, a Microsoft product or something, or whatever the hell there's, like, you'll be fucking plastered.
It's honestly, it's like they took Windows 11 and they forgot about the they forgot about the kind of standard of an OS, and they turned it on to their personal billboard system.
not only that, they're also overly relying on AI. Now,
yeah.
AI is very controversial. Some people, you got the camp that hates AI, and you got the people who love AI. I'm firmly in the middle. I think AI can do some really wonderful things, but at the same time, I hate that we overly rely on AI. AI
Right.
can be, too
AI
much
is
of
an assistant for a reason.
yeah, like it's a good thing. AI, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be on the firm believer that AI is a good thing. People make little things about it, like it's bad for the environment, this and that, and like, I'm not here to debate what it takes to get AI to run and everything like that. But what I will say is, when done right, AI is a great thing, and it's a
Yes.
great tool that can help you. But it's also like, too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's overly used.
Yeah,
And
really, really, when it comes to that, when you really think about how like Microsoft is taking their focus away from everything, kind of like on what they stood for with Windows 11, specifically, at least to me, and I know you would probably, you would have some stuff to add to this as well. It feels like a big philosophy shift because it feels like, well,
it feels like their management, like they've had a complete total shift in management. That's what it
yeah,
feels like. It feels like the Microsoft that I grew up with when it comes to not only the PC space, but the gaming space as well,
mm-hmm.
has just left this planet.
It's like they've
And
transformed into a walled garden that like really pushes their branding and their services more than caring about their users and empowering how they can expand their community base to see how they can better adapt it, which is kind of where they've kind of gone wrong.
A walled garden is definitely, what I would call it, especially with the forcing of the Microsoft accounts.
Yeah.
No more local user datas, advertising everything to the moon with you, pushing Copilot.
Native Microsoft Store.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Like whenever you're using something like Linux, which we're going to get into definitely in this episode, Linux has native stores built into their OSs. If you're on, Mint, you've got, Flatpak or the Flat Hub or whatever, I think it is. I think that's what they use. And then Arch uses just Flatpaks. Like, but the cool thing about Linux is, though they have their native stores that you can go to and install shit, you don't have to. You can go pull a fucking app image straight from the internet and slap that fucker onto your system. You don't have to use it. And that's the same thing with Microsoft. They have their shit. You don't have to use it. But boy, do they not like it when you do that. I mean, if you download something that they don't trust, I mean, you got to go, like, they're like, are you sure you want to open this? You got to click more options. You got to click allow anyway. And then, it's just
really,
like,
really one thing I want to highlight as well, kind of compared between 10 and 11 that I know that you can agree with me on this as well, that stood out immediately for both of us when we were testing out the two, is how with Windows 10 and the earlier versions, while you had kind of a lot more firm control ground with your OS and how you wanted to go about its
you also had a fucking control panel.
Yes, we'll get into that as well. I'll let you talk about that. But really the big thing between 10 and 11 when it comes to how the user can decide what it wants, that it really kind of got rid of, was its update control. Because, oh boy, the fact that Windows 11 does not give you any choice sometimes now about updates and what it updates and where it goes is, it's not good, because we'll talk about this as well, because there's been a lot of updates in the recent with Windows 11 that have caused some major oopsies on Microsoft's part, to kind of to the
Do you have any
national
idea
level.
whenever it was at like, how many times have you been on your work computer at your business, or like, wherever you're at, and then you're like, hang on guys, I need to restart my computer for something's not going right, and then you restart your computer, and then you gotta wait for a million fucking updates, and then your boss comes to see you and they're like, hey, what's going on? And you're like, oh, sorry sir, you see this, I'm on update 1 of fucking 15, it's taking its sweet ass
1
time.
of 200.
Like it's happened to me several times, and it's not a good time. Like, yeah, especially, oh my god,
You remember what happened with the whole BitLocker charade? That was bad.
dude, holy shit, that BitLocker charade was so fucked.
Yep.
I mean, like, this is why I tell like, I would love to tell businesses, and you may say nay to this, but I'm going to even defend Apple on some regards. Don't, like, it's great to use different computers for things. Like, Mac has its strengths and weaknesses. So does Linux, so does Windows.
Yep.
I don't think businesses should just solely rely on one sole company.
Yeah.
I've seen a few businesses that use Macs for their stuff, and when it comes to like editing software and shit like that, Macs are really fucking good. I mean, like, I don't know if you've used I think it's Final Cut, or they have like some programs on there, but like they have some great video editing software. I've heard. I haven't had a personal Mac since 2009 for myself, but they're their own walled garden, and they have their own fucking issues that they're dealing with. I mean, they're just as walled as Microsoft, but I will take anything over just an over reliance on Windows, because whenever you get like a big dick like Microsoft and you think you can swing it around, that means that you can get away with a lot more egregious shit. And I mean, I don't know. I wish businesses would just give other OSs a chance for their users instead of getting locked out of all your shit with BitLocker.
Yeah, think about it this way. Like, how would you feel if you were just the everyday average Joe and you were prompted as a forced cumulative update, especially if you had, like, an Intel-based system, where if you had that updated, that you would boot your system into BitLocker recovery mode, and it would keep asking you for the recovery key, though no hardware changes were made, and then it blocked normal startup because it thought that you were in lockdown mode the entire time because of the update, and you didn't do anything. You just turned your computer on for the day, and Windows had updated overnight, and you didn't realize it. And then now you're just sitting there like, well, what do I do now?
Dude, if you get locked out of with BitLocker and you can't, like, fucking, oh my god, like, BitLocker could seriously fuck your shit. Unless you're in a business, you don't really use BitLocker. Thankfully, like, the average user isn't gonna fuck with BitLocker, but for businesses, the headaches that I heard, the stories that I heard were insane.
Yeah,
I mean, just absolutely terrible. But yeah, Windows 10. It's gone.
Yeah.
And though you can still opt into security updates with it, that has its own problems as it is already.
Yeah. Like, one thing I'll touch on now to kind of do a little bit of a re-segment. I don't know if you remember back past, I believe it was August, October timeframe, when they had that one bug that was in, I believe it was 24H2 or 25H2, I can't remember the number, but where that even though users would, like, if they opened Task Manager, how it would, like, close but not close in the background, so you would have Task Manager pulling your resource views that would be pulling more resources without you realizing it. And then you'd be wondering why your CPU or your memory would be throttled at 90% and you weren't even doing anything.
I think that was a beta update that thankfully, I don't know if that was in the main build, but it was still a problem that they had.
Yeah. That kind of brings into another segment that I wanted to talk about with Windows that I'll let you kind of elaborate on as well. Windows and its glorious resources and its over reliance and kind of advertisement, if you will, on its bloatware and how much we hate that.
Yeah. Like, this is something that I'm going to preach about Linux to the cows come home, but when you get a fucking computer from, like, Best Buy or somewhere, from wherever you purchase your local hardware, what's the first thing your ass probably takes off of that computer?
All the startup apps.
Yeah. Like, all the startup apps that come with it, like McAfee is probably one of them. Like, every time you get a damn Windows machine, the bloatware that it comes with is insane.
Yes.
There's so much on there, and
like, why would you want the Microsoft Store? You just bought this laptop for work purposes. Why in the world would you immediately open TikTok, Candy Crush, Spotify, dumb things like that? Like, what purpose does that have being pre-installed unless the user specifically requests it just to be like, oh, I wonder why my storage is full. Let me go see what's already installed. And then you see these 50 things that you don't use ever and you have no idea why they're there.
Exactly. Like it's unnecessary. There's just so much that
all they do is eat RAM and your CPU cycles. That's all they do.
So honestly, I don't know how much more I have to say about like that. Besides, I could go on a tangent and bitch about Windows for time and time again. And the only reason why I bitch about it is because I love Windows. It's contrary to the belief of me switching to Linux and becoming like, a penguin bro or anything like that.
Penguin
thing
life.
Is, I grew up with Windows.
Yep.
I used Windows since I was old enough to understand how to use a computer. Yep. I was on Windows. It's a part of me. And honestly, I hate what Windows has become.
Yeah.
And that is why I can bitch about all of this. I don't bitch about it because I just hating blindly to hate Windows.
It's become a branded marketing front at this point.
Well, I mean, it's Microsoft. It's always been like Microsoft is Microsoft, but like I said, Windows has not been perfect over the course of me, because the first time I used Windows 95.
Yep.
And then I went from 9. I used all the iterations that you could think of, and 95 good, 98 shit, 2000 pretty shit, XP godlike, Vista hate it, 7 loved it, 8 all of 8 I don't care, it doesn't matter, hated it all, and then 10 really awesome.
Yep.
So like Windows has its moments of being ridiculously good, and then it has its moments of being ridiculously bad.
I believe my first run in with Windows way back in the day, especially on that old laptop that I had ZSNES on it.
Vista. Vista.
It was Vista. Yeah.
Yeah. It was more than less Vista. But yeah, so like I've used Windows for so long to know when it has been good, when it has been bad. And this is different. This isn't just that, oh shit, Microsoft made another, shit Windows like they did, before Windows 10. Oh my God. No, this is a little more egregious. It feels like not only has Windows it's like it's losing its soul.
Yeah,
it also
using
feels
its population base.
It feels dishonest.
Yeah.
Because
it feels very secretive because they're hiding a lot of shit.
Yeah, like the death of Windows 10 it's an eye opener, because now so many computers, without people knowing what they're, people are just all they know is that they can't use Windows like they could. I mean, they could, but there's two things that's going to happen. People aren't going to care, and they're just going to continue to use an outdated OS, and their computers eventually get compromised with all kinds of shit on the internet, because you don't have to go to shady websites to get your computer compromised. If your computer is not up to date with its security software, all it would take is someone gaining access to your network, and then the machines on your network, and they can run any kind of code they want.
Yep, there are so many different versions of OS backdoors that have lost support. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so like just because you might be thinking to yourself, I don't go to shady websites, it doesn't matter. I'll reference, there's a video that I watched of somebody connecting Windows XP to the internet, and they only connected it for a few minutes, and there was already someone from Russia basically trying to use their computer for like a botnet, I think.
Yeah, as a botnet.
Yeah, I'll have to pull it. It was an awesome video, but like there will be people who will do that, and then there will be people who will inevitably scrap their computer for parts and upgrade, which is fine. If they feel like it's time for them to upgrade their computer and everything like that. But some people will do it reluctantly because they don't want to upgrade, but they feel like they don't have a choice to, and that's the wrong thing. That's the part that really, really just makes me sad, because there's a lot of really good computers out there. and they're all either going to be scrapped, trashed, or like not used because people think, oh well, Windows is dead, or when I can't go to Windows 11, I can't use this machine anymore. And that's what I want to get into this next segment, because I have switched to Linux Mint, and I have been using it for 6 months now.
Yep.
As my main OS. You know, we made a video whenever we first launched into it because, you know, oh my God, we had to talk about Linux and how awesome it is, and, you know, all that kind of cool stuff. And that did pretty well for us. But now we've had literally 6 months of using it, and like this computer that couldn't run Windows 11, it has seen so much action, and I've gotten so much done with it that it's just ridiculous. Like,
over the last 6 months, me and you probably have dived down the terminal rabbit hole for, you know, every little tiny issue that we ever ran into, probably well over a couple hundred times, because we're always in the terminal.
I might pull up my terminal backlog. Like, I think there's there's a thing that you can look at where you can look at all your past commands, and then we'll just see all the shit that we did just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I'm not sure how farther back that would go, though.
We'll find that out. But Linux Mint is something that I'm going to suggest to anyone. I've said it before, all those months ago, but I'll say it again. For those of you who are trying to get into a new operating system, and you don't want to get rid of your computers, you don't want to upgrade your stuff, you just use your computer for basic everyday needs, maybe not necessarily like, you know, like the top of the line stuff, or maybe you do top of the line stuff, but you just don't have the motherboard requirements for some reason. Linux Mint, you can go to their website. The version that I will recommend is called Cinnamon. It has the most software installed on it. But the software basically will give you everything that you need to have a stable and easy experience from switching from Windows.
Yes, LibreOffice is godlike.
Yes. So we have two aspects of people who've stuck with Linux for 6 months. I have used it in a casual gaming kind of sense, casual OS and gaming kind of sense, and Michael has used it for purely business.
Mostly business and system tweaking. Right.
So we do have two sides of a coin that we can talk about whenever it comes to how Mint has been for both of us, and how easy it was to switch from Mint from being a basic user of Windows for like all of my life. Actually, Michael still uses Windows 11 on his main rig, and he uses Mint. So, like, you know, you can compare how using Windows to Mint is, and how easy it was to get in there. Because I have not used Windows 11. I went from 10 to Mint because I didn't meet the requirements for 11, so I didn't get to mess with it.
I went to Linux Mint initially because of a whole different reason that is covered in the old video, because of you know, the lovely thing of Windows where it stores so many temporary files it kills itself.
Right. As a refresher, Michael lost so much of his work one day. And Windows essentially killed itself with all of its temporary log files that it had.
I had to go into PowerShell and kind of scrub it to be able to reboot, to then put everything in the cloud to switch. It took me a couple hours, probably about 3 or 4, but once I was able to go through Terminal and PowerShell to clean out the system for the specific files that were corrupted, after I got that done out of my temp folder, I was good to go. And then I'm like, you know what, no more, I ain't doing this. And I've switched over fully to Mint that night.
Yeah, I know. It's the funniest thing. I was there for the install.
Yes, you were.
It was glorious. Oh my God. But yeah, so I guess I'll go in a sense, because mine will be a lot less detailed than yours. As somebody who has been casually as possible using this OS for 6 months, I went in with the sole purpose of, I don't really want to use Terminal that much. I just want to treat this basically like I was on Windows. And for the
Right.
most part, you absolutely can. You don't have to. But the cool thing about going into Linux is,
You learn
I
a lot.
mean, you will learn, and you'll learn with your computer, and it doesn't treat you like a moron.
No,
It's very
it doesn't hold your hand either.
no, it doesn't. But it definitely, like, after a while, you'll start using the terminal. You won't be typing lines, hundreds of code lines into
No.
your fucking terminal like some kind of programmer, like, you know, from the
That's
movies
what
or
VS
anything.
Code is for.
Yeah. But like say for an example, I wanted to install a random program that I couldn't find on the App Store on Linux.
Yep.
I would Google this program, and then it would tell me the command to type into terminal to install it on my system. I would just copy and paste it in terminal.
GitHub
and,
directories are amazing with Mint.
Yep. I would just copy and paste the install script into terminal, and then, you know, type in my password, and then that's basically the extent of terminal that I would use. Just look for something on GitHub, copy and paste it in there, or I would a random every now and then sudo apt update just to update everything on my machine.
Don't forget you did do some file configuring as well in terminal for text-based editing.
Yes, I did. But the key thing is, it's all optional.
Yep.
You don't have to. For the casualist of casual users, you don't need to open terminal. For the most part, 90% of the time, if you are just using it in a sense of word processing, internet browsing, or just, you know, your casual everyday PC use, you won't have to touch terminal at all.
Yep.
And if you do, but eventually you may end up wanting to, because they give you more options than Windows could. But the option is to not use terminal. If you want the option, it's there. And for this specific OS, you don't have to. So for people who think that Linux is this scary thing, I've probably said this before in my other video. It's not.
It's not.
For the past 6 months, I have barely had to use terminal for anything that I really needed. I've only used terminal because I've been curious and I've been learning new things
and
about
it's been
Linux.
really fun to do together.
It has been. It has been a lot of fun. So for anyone who is casually thinking, well, I don't know what to do with my old computer with Windows 10, Cinnamon is perfect for you for the casual experience. As for being a gamer, I have been using Steam. I have downloaded other launchers like the Heroic game launcher or Lutris, which is an all-in-one game launcher that lets you use Epic games, Steam, GOG, etc., and you can just pull all your library into one cohesive little launcher and play your games that way, and it works. It just absolutely works. Thanks to Steam, which we're going to get into later on in this episode. I've got so much to say about Steam. Steam with its Proton tool.
Oh, Proton layers.
Proton is a compatibility layer that takes Windows language and basically makes it readable on Linux. So you can play your entire Steam library with no problem on Linux. Now, being a gamer, if you're playing this, you know, looking to play games on Mint, the only caveat with playing video games, and I've probably said this before, you know, but now I've had some serious experience with it, is any video game that has a serious anti-cheat installed is unfortunately not playable on Linux yet. I mean, there are people, if you know what you're doing, there's probably workarounds and stuff like that you could probably do. You could probably run a virtual machine or something like that. But for the casual, everyday user, if you're playing a lot of multiplayer games with the boys, like, you know, if you're playing your Call of Duties or your Battlefields or, you know, your Rainbow Six Sieges or GTA 5 now, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to play that through Linux. So if that is a problem for you, then honestly, I don't blame you. there's not much that can be done. I've heard that there are programs out there that are coming out, like Winboat,
Oh yeah,
that lets
but
you do things. I've not messed with it, but there
once
are
we get a full
programs out there.
retrospect on that, we'll have to see how that turns out, and then we may or may not report on that depending on what we find.
Yeah, it's something else to look into. But like I said, like I've been saying, that's about the worst downside of being a gamer on Linux.
Yeah.
Multiplayer anti-cheat games are a no-go.
Mhm.
And until companies seem to want to give more of a shit, it's probably the biggest hurdle about joining the Linux club when it comes to gaming.
The other thing the other thing I will interject with that, because I know that you've had me called in a few times to help you with a few different cases. The other point of kind of gaming on Mint, specifically again because of the difference in kind of OS structure nature with how it operates, is all of the games that handle like either modding differently or things like exe injections.
Yes, if you are a modder in your PC games, then Mint is going to be a problem. You can do it if you're just doing like the basic ass mods where you go into your game folder and you just copy and replace files like you normally would do. If you then you're fine. But if you got to do like mod launchers and shit like that, unless there's a native Linux port, which some of them do have native Linux ports,
you have to do some hunting and some configurations for. There are a select few that do have those, but as far as the general population, it is few and far between.
Yeah, that's also the biggest other contentious thing about using Mint. Modding your games is hit or miss. It's iffy.
Yep.
But that's only for the gamers. For your casual everyday users, you're not going to worry about what I'm saying is just completely like bogus. Like that doesn't mean anything to you, which is why I'd like you to talk about the business aspect of using Mint. Switching from.
One final note I will add on to the end of that with modding and kind of all that. It really can come down to things like how devs develop and build their system or their app or their mod, and how they make their native file structure. A really big example of how like their different incompatibilities with different OSs that I would like to bring up, because I know that we can speak on this briefly, is Arch Linux and the debacle between DuckStation that happened because of how the developer was not willing to migrate its file structure to be accommodating to Arch and all the Arch bros out there, so he decided it would be better to walk away than to fight the demon.
Yeah, for the casual people who don't understand any of this, just know that every community has its toxicity, like toxic side. Every gaming community has its toxic side whenever it comes to different games. Linux is no different. Some people view themselves as better because of the OS that they use, and that's just how the world works in some cases. But and I'm probably even me and you are probably going to get some serious shit from Arch Bros, but I will die on this absolute hill for people who are coming from Windows and do not want to go to Windows 11 because either they don't like what Windows 11 is doing. I will say it till the cows come home, till the moon falls from the sky, Majora's Mask style. Cinnamon is the best OS to start with.
Yes.
If you're getting into it, if you are like wanting the closest thing to how Windows, the closest thing to a Windows experience, then Cinnamon is your best bet. I will defend that adamantly.
Yes.
And these past 6 months have been the less stressful I've ever had. Like, I've never dealt with severe crashes. I've never dealt with blue screens. I've never dealt with like fatal error, this or that. And if I did have something crash on me to the point where it was hanging, I would Control Alt T to bring up terminal, and then I would type in xkill.
Oh, that glorious command.
Yep, I would type in xkill, hit enter, and then click on the son of a bitch that wasn't responding on my computer and nuke it from my fucking files. Yeah. That's
Just
as
the
simple as
power
that.
to smite your own OS is glorious.
Yep. You can literally type in a command and anything you click dies.
Yep. There was that
Well,
one time as well where we had a flat pack on an Arch device. That was fun to learn how to fix.
we'll get that. That would be a funny little thing to bring up in a future Linux episode because there's different file structures and everything. For now, just the average experience for people, I'll reiterate it. Don't be afraid to switch to Linux, Mint, Cinnamon. Don't be afraid to at all. And if you're a gamer, especially, oh boy, do I have some serious cool shit because like we've Steam has been a forefront onto
Yes.
getting people into Linux gaming.
Mm-hmm.
It started with the Steam machine in like 2016 and it failed, to give them credit. It flopped like a fish. And then a few years later, and like, after the COVID times, they launched the Steam Deck and they struck gold because now
the handheld era became upon us.
Yeah, the handheld era started booming, and now they relaunched their Steam machine. And we just saw the announcement today, and holy fucking hell, the Steam machine running Steam OS. A lot more people will probably be using Linux, and they probably won't even know it, just because they want that console-like PC experience, and Valve is selling it to everyone now. We don't call it the Steam machine though.
No.
We're gonna call it the Gabe Cube. That's what we're gonna call it that, because anyone who uses Steam just knows of Lord Gaben. Mm-hmm. And we're not gonna. Yeah, it's called the Gabe Cube. I don't care what anyone says.
Yes, the good old Gabe Cube.
But yeah, I'm gonna. Is there anything before we talk about the Steam machine? Because I wanted to jump into that. I wanted you to basically, comment on how Mint has been for you, in a sense of using it as a work machine.
Yes. So I primarily use Linux Mint Cinnamon on my everyday laptop that I bring everywhere with me for my classes, my work, everything that I do that's not on my primary work from home workstation. Just a couple of points I'll touch on because, again, we covered a lot of this in previous episodes. With the big thing, and I know you've seen this firsthand as well, when it comes to the first literal installation difference of Mint in Linux versus something like Windows is the cost savings. Because you ain't got to pay $100 for that key. No, sir. You just got to go download it. Because guess what? It's free, open source, no licensing fees for life. Because that is what they stand on. And it is wonderful.
You pay for your Windows keys, you peasant. I haven't. Support the official release, guys. I'm serious. Don't do that. Nah. Don't. Spend $100 on Microsoft's Windows keys, or actually don't do that.
When they came up with the difference of Windows for home, office, and business keys, just for the price difference, it just baffles me. But yeah, that's the first point that I wanted to speak on, was the fact that you can install and switch to Linux at any point for completely free.
Yeah, actually, isn't there a way to test out and try Linux for yourself on your Windows machine without using a VM?
Yes.
Like, there's a way for you to actually, before you make the big plunge and nuke your system.
So what we did that with your rig when we were first seeing how kind of to test the waters with yours when we brought it home. So all you do, again, outside of running a virtual machine or having dual boot if you have the space for dual booting, would just be to get you a handy dandy little flash drive that is at least 8 gigabytes, if not 16, or whatever you have lying around that is at least 8 gigs. You stick that thing in your computer, you go to Linux Mint, you download the latest file for Mint Cinnamon for whatever version it is at the time, you boot that thing, you use either like a USB etcher, something like Belinda Etcher, to flash the file to the USB drive itself. Once you stick it in, that becomes a bootable drive at that point, which will then be able to boot the Linux Mint ISO image to your computer from the flash drive once you go into BIOS and switch over your boot device to the USB drive to be first instead of your onboard memory that has your OS. And then once it boots into the Linux OS from there, you'll have, I believe it's 2 or 3 options. I'm again not going to go into detail because we've done this before, but you'll have basically 2 options that you'll see. Either go ahead and wipe your system completely, install it, and exit the flash drive, or the second one being do a test drive, mess around in Mint as much as you want for as long as you want. You have full, complete reign within the aspects, of course, of however much storage is on that USB drive, because it'll take into account that as well if you're actually going to put stuff on it while you're testing it. And then as soon as you're done, you could exit the test. It'll wipe everything that you did in that virtual play session metaphorically out, and then from there it'll bring you back to that main menu saying, hey, you've tested it, now would you like to install it and wipe all your stuff if you're ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, honestly.
Yes.
And the scariest part is the switch.
Yes.
But once you get that done, it'll be like riding a bike. Everything that you've done on a Windows machine is readily right there for you. And I mean, you don't have to pay for anything. Like, do you like Microsoft 365? Well, there's a free, besides, using Google Docs. If you're that kind of person, you can also use their free, you can use LibreOffice, which is amazing.
That's another thing that was one of my points, ironically, with the use of Mint. Like, once you install the OS, well, yes, it will take some time to go over from the USB drive to the system itself, because you got to remember, while it's flashing from the USB drive, it's working with whatever power that USB drive has in it to push to the system. So depending on how good of a flash drive you have, it can take 5 minutes or it can take maybe an hour, depending on what the USB drive is working with. But once you have Mint installed, you've made your local account, you've set your password. Yes, you heard me correctly. You've set your local account. Once you do that, you have complete control over kind of everything from stability, support, and security. So again, not going to go into too much detail here, as we've done most of this before. It's built primarily off of the Ubuntu LTS kind of framework for Linux, which has very much long-term support and very much predecessed update cycles for its lifespan, and its all the devs that work behind the scenes for kernel updates and stuff like that. And it's a lot more less, I will say, in terms of updates with how it goes about it, because it's not disruptive like Windows is. You have a little shield icon in your tray that is your update manager, and it'll show you a little red icon that'll be like, hey, you have updates, and you can choose to click it, look at what those updates are, and choose to update them now, update them later, or only choose which updates from that list it shows you to update or not update or get rid of completely. You have complete and total update control.
And if you want to be that person that just says update for me automatically, I mean, like Windows does, you absolutely can. This OS is fully customizable to do the things that you want it to do. There might be some limitations here and there, and there might be some things that people might not use, but like in a sense of the casual user, which is, me, I am no fucking computer absolute whiz. I can get around an OS or two, but like for the casual user, this is just really handy to use. And these past 6 months have been just amazing as being a casual gamer, switching to PC and everything like that. I've had no problems with Steam. I've played everything that I've ever wanted. And used all the emulators. I mean, and they work just as good, if not better, on Linux, just because of just how the file structure is and everything like that.
System compatibility as a whole.
Yeah, it has been honestly just so much fun learning a new operating system. And that's the cool thing about it. I might be a broken record. Everything that I've said really hasn't changed from before. The only real big issue that I run into is I have an NVIDIA graphics card.
Yep.
And
Oh
NVIDIA
yeah.
is not the biggest. Like Linux and NVIDIA can get along, but not very well. I deal with a lot of, and I don't know if it's just because I'm using an older card or whatnot, but I deal with some frequent audio stuttering or issues, and they're very isolated. And that's about the only real problem that I've ever had, is just slight inconsistencies with my
Compatibility.
sound effects. Yeah.
I will
And
say as well, because I remember again, you had kind of conferenced me in on one little issue that we had tested, and kind of found the source of the issue as well, that came from your initial your graphics card driver that it was using. While you were using the proprietary, it will mess up different app services as well, because I know, for our fun fact, the primary system one that we use mostly for a lot of our work between the two of us for this channel, Discord, with the things like that streaming API and stuff that it uses for kind of collaboration efforts. When you're streaming on Mint with like the proprietary NVIDIA driver, at least with the version of it that, you know, supports Cody's card, this, at least in our case, again, it has this weird ghosting effect that happens when you're on the native driver, where basically, if you're not isolating what you're showing to just that screen, but if you're showing your whole desktop as a whole, it gets all pixely, and like if you have a bunch of windows open or any like tabs, whatever it is, it ghosts, and you can see like either the windows behind each other through each other, and it also does this weird thing where you can see the desktop icons through the windows occasionally while you're watching the streams and stuff like that. Which, once we switch over to like the lesser not lesser compatible, but like lesser performance focused open source driver, that it fixed a lot of those issues with compatibility with Discord, which was really nice, while also sadly sacrificing some system performance because of the inconsistent kind of, you know, collaboration between the system and the driver itself.
yeah, so NVIDIA graphics cards with Linux is the best thing. If you were, I would recommend having an AMD based
Yes.
graphics card, because AMD is built.
Anything
lot of AMD
AMD
drivers,
Ryzen is always a good pair.
they're actually built straight into Linux. Like
Yeah.
a lot of it's just built into the kernel, as far as I know. But not everyone will have it. Some people will have NVIDIA cards, and that's fine.
Right.
Just because you have an NVIDIA card doesn't mean Linux is going to be a pain in the ass for you. It just means that you'll have to do a little bit of manual stuff, like manually installing your own graphics driver or anything like that.
Right.
You will have to do that, but it's not that hard. All you on Mint, you literally open your driver manager and look.
Yeah, it gives
Or
you a
you
few
can go-
options to choose from.
Yeah, and you can just straight go from there, and it's automatic. So it's not too much of a hassle, but it is there. But yeah, how do you go about using Mint for yourself?
So that kind of segments into the next point that I was going to kind of speak on, which was kind of the business software ecosystem that Mint kind of has natively with its store, and what it like kind of not really pushes, but it like is very open about what it has and what it offers. The LibreOffice suite, which is basically the Mint version of the Microsoft Office suite, but 100 times better, because it's all, again, open source, free, constantly updated. There's no wool over your eyes. It's all there. You can see exactly what's happening in real time, change logs, all of that. You can either do there's a fun little app. I don't use it too much, but there's something called Thunderbird, I believe, as well, that can like take all your like email inboxes and make it all into one streamlined thing, to where like if you have like a whole bunch of different inboxes for like, you know, Outlook, Gmail, Hotmail, and like, you know, all of those, and it can kind of containerize everything into one place, which is nice. Then you have our me and Cody's preferred search engine that we use with Mint, which is Firefox, which is a lot better than Chrome, and also has some drawbacks in some ways when it comes to a few things. But other than that, we do prefer, at least me, Firefox over Google Chrome any day of the week, because we all know how much RAM Google Chrome eats, and no one likes that, because that's bad. Anything like that, you know, it has a lot of productivity stuff that has a native There's a lot of native like photo editing tools. There's even a native kind of like Adobe Photoshop, and then there's a native Linux Mint version of like Sony Vegas for video editing. We've actually used that to edit a majority of the videos on this channel. Fun fact, that's how we did our Switch 2 unboxing video. It's all done through the Mint editor there, which was really fun to learn with that video. Go check it out if you haven't. The other thing I will say as far as the software ecosystem that a lot of new users might want to kind of consider it for with its use and kind of like the path, the bridge over. You might be familiar with how Microsoft works and a lot of its like how Office, PowerPoint, and stuff like that work, and how Microsoft is very kind of picky about what it works with and stuff like that. If you have kind of for say, at least the one that I was brought to my attention that I had to figure out how to find the alternative for would be Adobe Photoshop. Any of the Adobe products will not work like natively at all. Well, yes, if you have Microsoft stuff or Adobe stuff that is Microsoft centered with its OS use, you can use the web version of the different apps if you really want to. Well, yes, that'll eat your resources a little bit more because of the tabs and stuff. Again, you can switch to the Linux versions for Libre, which give you a lot more open control. One thing that I found that I liked a lot compared to again, I'm not sure the Adobe name, but I like the Adobe Reader with PDFs, is the PDF editor within Mint, completely free, and you're able to edit a PDF on the fly, and you can change it right then and there without having to make another copy. You can just edit from the source file in any way you want. You're not forced to make a copy or start a new one in a different file type like Microsoft does for a lot of stuff. It's very kind of very open-ended with what it does. It shows you exactly what it's doing. It gives you a full change log, and basically any productivity tool that you would have used within the Microsoft ecosystem, there is a Linux alternative within the Libre space 99% of the time, unless you're using something hyper specific that's like a third-party thing. But it's very approachable, and it's a lot of one-to-one. You just have to switch over to the software itself and then get used to the layouts, because the layouts will not be, at least not initially, look the same as the Microsoft layouts. Well, yes, again, you can use the web versions of these Windows-based Microsoft things. You can also, if you're technical enough, you can use something like Wine through Linux to still use the Windows kind of things, but I wouldn't recommend you do that, as you do have the native alternatives there within the ecosystem.
That also, and well, besides Wine, we have a program that's not fully in 1.0 called Winboat that's coming out that lets you probably do a lot more things with native Windows applications that we'll probably be able to get into later once we learn more about that. I've never used the program, and so there might actually, if you still want to use all of your native Windows programs, you might be able to. You already have Wine, which is a compatibility layer for Linux that basically converts Windows code into, or Windows language into Linux language, and lets you run stuff like that. So like we've always had a tool like that, but Winboat is it looks like it's going to be like that, but on crack.
Right.
And as Linux gets more and more mainstream, we might see more and more Windows tools convert over to Linux,
right,
which is something that I want to talk about, because it looks like Linux is becoming more and more mainstream thanks to Steam. I mean, pushing it, they tried to push it 10 years ago with the Steam machine and failed. They broke everything, like they broke the bank with the Steam Deck with Steam OS, and now they have their native console that is also a PC coming out next year that is also going to be rocking Steam OS, and I cannot wait to see how much the user base for Linux will grow when that launches, because thanks to the Steam Deck, 3% of people play video games on Linux.
Yes.
Now, that might not seem that much. An entire
3% worldwide of, like, what, 8 billion people?
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a lot, because Windows still takes up like the majority. It's like, you know, what, 70% or whatever. But it's growing, and with this console launching, we might see that 3% launch into something even higher.
Getting the double digits.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see it. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the last thing I really want to touch on after we wrap up everything with Linux Mint. The key takeaway from it is, and I'll just say, the only thing I use Linux Mint for is I literally just play video games on it. So I launch Steam, and I launch Discord, and I go into my file manager to put ROMs for my emulators in there, or, you know, that's basically all I use it for. And it is super fucking simple. Never had an issue with anything video game wise that I play with my single player ass RPGs or my emulated stuff. Those are the programs I use, and they are wonderful. I don't have any issues whatsoever. And I sound like a broken record when I say it, but it just as the great God Howard would say, it just works.
Yeah, it just works.
And yeah, so don't be afraid.
Yeah, please do not be afraid. It's so much fun.
I would love for people who hear, like, you know, listen to us rant about this shit. If you try out Cinnamon, like, tell us your story. Like, if you like, I would love to know. Hey, was it easy? What part of it was hard? Because the part that got me was the terminal. And the only reason why the terminal got me is because I was willing to learn it. You don't have to, like I've said, you don't really have to learn it. But if you do, I'd love to learn, like, I'd love to know how it was for you guys. I would love to learn stories about people who are like, you know what, I'm sick of how my computer works. I want to do it this way.
Right.
So anyone, like, tell us stories about how you switched over to, and how it's been going for you in terms of being a gamer, in terms of being a casual PC user. Now, when it comes to me being visually impaired, you know, getting a screen reader installed and everything like that, there is one that natively comes, and we've had our issues with getting that installed, and that is probably the biggest issue for me, being a blind person going into Mint. There is a bit of a there is a bit of a oopsie daisy going into it, and I'm still learning how to install stuff with open source screen readers and stuff.
We've still got all the information and stuff that's on the way with the pipeline for all of our screen reader research, which should be at some point in the future we'll have our screen reader rant that you'll be able to listen to.
I would love to put out a video about installing and getting your screen reader configured for, you know, use in different Linux environments. I would love to get that up and running, and it's not there yet. I could have had it, but quite frankly, I've been lazy. I've been slacking on it, and I really need to get on that kind of thing. But you know, that might be the next thing in the pipeline. Who knows? Someone quote me on that.
Yep, for sure. One last thing that I will touch on for me in the kind of business IT, information technology student kind of zone that I'm in with how I use Mint. I'll speak a little bit on the kind of technical perspective of the terminal, just real quick, again, just as a general overview, not going into too much crazy depth. So again, Linux Mint really shines when you take a look at the terminal and how it really has that control layer of the OS compared to something like Windows. One, you have, you know, just your overall usual package management that we were speaking on briefly before, just with, you know, how APTs work, or, you know, the advanced package tool for installing or updating your software. Everything can be done in Mint Terminal, mostly with maybe one or two little words or segment scripts in one line, and all you gotta do is type in those three things and hit enter, and then you don't have to worry about it, because usually those three things are sudo apt update or sudo apt update or sudo apt update
Install.
and sudo apt upgrade and then sudo apt install, which will keep your system completely up to date and current, and you won't have to do anything else outside of that if you don't want to. It's really, again, it's simple, clean, effective, all one line, really cool tool that you can use for package management, because if you don't want to have to dive into it, you don't have to, which is nice.
You still have that shield icon. You can still upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah. You can do it either way.
Yeah, it's very, like I said, like it's broken record. It's basically broken record, the podcast. This has been entirely the easiest thing to switch to.
Yes.
If not better. And I'll just say it before I move on. Don't throw out your old PCs with Windows 10 on them. Don't do that. Just don't. If you just give it a chance. Put it on a flash drive. Use Belinda Etcher. Mm-hmm. You know, there's YouTube videos out there. Maybe we can put out a YouTube tutorial.
Yep.
For ease of access, but don't throw, for the love of God, don't throw out your old hardware. Yep. If you don't want to upgrade, you don't have to. And let that be the final thing I say about Mint.
Yes.
Cinnamon, that has been amazing. You can breathe new life into the oldest of machines that you have. I mean, this thing could run on a potato.
Yep.
I think what's the minimum, 4 gigs of RAM that it requires or something?
For the install?
Yeah.
The install is just 3, I believe.
Okay. Like, this thing can run on a potato.
Yep.
And so that means any of your older machines could probably run some form of Mint.
Yeah. And one thing to kind of put that in perspective that I'll speak on is Mint can run on a potato. Basically, all the old systems there's watered down versions of Mint that are even more watered down than, you know, something like Mint or Cinnamon, to, like, you know, either bare bones or the literal bare necessities that will make it the most light OS distribution you've ever seen. Really, one thing I'll speak on when you were talking about how the RAM utilization and stuff is, you know, Linux can take something like, you know, 8 gigs of RAM and run circles around it all day long, given what you're trying to run on it. But if you look at something like Windows 11 today, it will take that 8 gigs of RAM and it will put it in a chokehold for the rest of its life until it burns to a crisp. Because if you don't have a system really with at least 16 gigs of RAM running Windows 11, you're not going to survive, because Windows 11 is so resource heavy, it's not even funny.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, just keep this in mind, guys. Don't throw out your old rigs, your machines. Just, yeah, like, take the plunge.
Yep.
Take the chance. You know, find flash drives, do what you got to do. But
everything is customizable.
Yeah. I cannot recommend it enough, and I will sing it to the cows come home. Mint is one of my favorite OSs that I have used.
Yes. It's
up there, and I don't know what could top it. So,
for sure.
With that being said, in terms of the casual sense, that's all over with.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
time to get to business.
Something that has been really fucking, oh my god, I can't stop thinking about it. The new Steam machine that they launched, or the Gabe Cube.
The Gabe
Cube.
Cube.
Holy shit. This thing is a beast of a PC, and we don't even know the fucking price on the damn thing.
No, we don't.
And the cool thing about it is, it too runs Linux.
Yes. It too runs SteamOS.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't run Cinnamon. It doesn't run Ubuntu, like so. But it runs Arch Linux, and it runs Arch Linux is the base. SteamOS is what it runs, and for the desktop environment, it runs a base
of Arch Linux with a desktop environment of KDE Plasma,
which it still feels like a Windows experience. It's just a little different. I like the fact that, you know, if you put your mouse in the top left-hand corner of the screen, and then it'll just like put all the windows that you have open like neatly in front of you, and then
Yep.
you could just like drag your mouse to them and then click. Like it's a very it's a different experience, and it is honestly, I've been using it for years with the Steam Deck, and it's awesome. That's all I gotta say. Imagine a desktop that you can mess around with, and then it literally has a gaming mode that turns your whole desktop environment into a console.
Yep.
Like there's just no other way to say it.
That's
If
probably
you
one of
used
the first impressions that I really liked about my time when I had my hands on with your Steam Deck when you first got it
Mhm.
all those moons ago, was the fact that you can choose which mode it's in, because you have those two distinct modes, of course, for desktop mode, which is more like work focused and more like configuration focused for everything behind the scenes that you're not going to look at. And then if you switch to gaming mode, you just see Steam big picture mode with your library, and everything that would be running the system and all of its technical know-how would be in the background. You wouldn't even notice it or see it, for that matter. You would all see your library and your games, and all you would do is select what you want, launch it, and choose your controller profile if you have one set or different one set, and that would be it, and you would just be off to the races. And you can do all the background work and then not have to look at any of the background stuff once you've set it, which is really nice.
Yep. So imagine whenever you go to Steam, if you guys use Steam Big Picture mode on your desktops, that is what gaming mode looks like on Steam OS. So you will feel right at home if you do use it, and if you don't, well then, you don't have to. You could just straight up use the Gabe Cube as a full-on PC. Although I will say, I like the gaming mode. Sometimes I just want that walled garden experience.
It's
where
very
I'm like,
simplistic.
I don't feel like doing all the crazy computer shit today. I just want to load into my shit, play a video game. I don't want to have to do anything. And yeah, this thing is looking fantastic. I mean, it looks like a Series X that got like chopped, like down, like a bit of it shaved off of it or whatever.
Yeah,
that's what it kind of reminds me of.
it's a big boy 6x6 cube pretty much, and with this new machine and its like little Amazon Alexa on crack looking self, Valve is finally going to be back in the living room. The new Steam machine, it's been announced for early 26 shipping. We don't know the price, we don't know when. That's all we know as far as the time frame. It isn't just, a console. You got to remember, this is a compact PC designed to bring your entire Steam library to your TV, to your, your portable monitors, anywhere you want, because this thing is a cube. It's only 6 pounds, and you can bring it wherever you want, and you still have this tiny little thing that has all this power. And when we break it down with the hardware and specs in a minute, you'll kind of see what makes this hardware fundamentally different, and why, and how this is a really big step forward for a lot of the gaming community, because this could completely reshape how we know the metaphorical landscape of how hardware is going to be designed moving forward, if this really takes off as well as it's being received right now, at least online and the forums and stuff.
It's funny because if this does take off, for anyone who I literally just spent like the past hour or so, telling everyone, hey guys, switch to Cinnamon, I swear to God, it's good. Their first fucking experience with Linux is literally going to be Arch, which is cool and scary at the same fucking time if you're in the Linux community. Because of the Arch bros. We know you're out there.
Yes.
We hear you, and we know how good Arch is, but we don't fucking care.
Yep.
But that aside, I mean, I do love SteamOS a lot. I mean, it is fucking awesome. And a lot of people are going to pick this up and not really know what the hell a Linux even is. They're literally going to be like, what? Yeah, they're going to be like, what the hell's a Linux? And they're going to...
It's a penguin.
It's a penguin.
His name
Linux is a
penguin.
He does things that Windows would never do.
He does things in a very daring manner that no other penguin would dare to do.
Yeah, by giving you free open source software that you don't have to pay for. But that being said, that's the funny thing to me that I'm looking forward to. Like, a lot of my friends who don't even know what the hell a Linux is going to pick up this fucking console.
There's a lot of people that don't even know what an operating system is.
Yeah, and they'll be just straight up using Linux.
Yep.
That's gonna
ever
be
used Android
amazing.
before?
Congratulations, you use Linux.
Bingo.
Yeah, exactly. Do you use Chrome OS? If you do, please take the nearest computer that runs that and throw it into your nearest dumpster, please.
Oh, I remember your rant about that when you called me once you got back from his house. That was fun.
Yeah, fuck Chrome OS. But, yeah, I mean, holy crap. How long have I been running in circles like a goldfish talking about how good Linux is?
It doesn't matter. Let's get into the new, this new ecosystem and features, sir. Anyway, so, the Steam Machine. First thing you see on the site when you look at it, it is claiming to have 6 times the horsepower of the Steam Deck, supporting 4K gameplay at 60 FPS. Revolutionary.
We'll see that. We'll see about that.
We'll see. So again, we have kind of this tiny little 6x6 cube. If y'all don't have the images in front of you, just imagine a Amazon Alexa but massive, or a Xbox Series X kind of cut in half a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of just to briefly go over the hardware and specs, just to kind of put it on the playing field so everyone knows what we're working with. Again, just going to say this to have it out there. The CPU, it's a semi-custom AMD Zen 4 with 6 cores, 12 threads, up to 4.8 gigahertz at 30 watt TDP for the CPU itself. GPU, it's a AMD RDNA 3 28 CU up to 2.45 gigahertz with a sustained clock that does not waver under a up to 110 watt TDP, with 16 gigs of DDR5 onboard system RAM, with 8 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM, as well as having 2 main storage models, of one being 512 SSD NVMe and a 2 terabyte SSD NVMe, capable with also the additional expansion of the micro SD card slot that will be on the front of the system itself, next to the power button.
And the cool thing that I did know about the micro SD slot, for those of you who have a Steam Deck, if you have games saved to your micro SD card, you can literally transfer them from your deck to your PC, and they'll work right off the box.
Yep,
they did
same OS.
They did, yeah, same OS, same everything. That is an awesome feature. I love that. Mm-hmm. So you could take your games from the Steam Deck and just straight put them on your PC. Like that's an amazing feature. Yep. Also, for any other programs that you have on there. But yeah, this thing, I gotta tell you, I don't know how well it's gonna do. It was just announced. We don't even have a price point for this thing yet. But if this thing takes off, I think Xbox and Sony are in trouble. Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. My controversial take for this episode, besides Cinnamon being better than Arch, I'll fight you, Arch Bros.
Yes.
Although, ironically, I will be an Arch Bro with this damn machine because I'm getting one. But if this
it's a modified Arch, okay, it doesn't count. It's the Gabe OS. We're fine as long as we stay with Gabe. Gabe will protect us.
Of course, Lord Gaben will never steer us wrong. But like, in all honesty, if this thing does take off, I think Xbox and Sony are in trouble. Nintendo is fine. They've been doing their own thing, and they're going to continue
to graze their pasture that they love to take their time in.
Yep, they'll be fine. Nintendo is not in any kind of trouble. But think about this: every Xbox game is on PC.
Yep,
practically.
Yep.
Every Sony game is coming to PC or will be on PC.
Theoretically, via this leak that we've seen going around the internet. Not confirmed yet, but it has highly been seen around the internet over the last couple of weeks.
And I know what people might be saying. All right, Mr. Smart Guy, but can you play Bloodborne on your PC? And to Matt, I will respond with, not legally, but yes.
Our favorite catchphrase.
Yes, exactly. But, I mean, honestly, like I said, if this thing kicks off and does well, I don't see any viable reason to buy an Xbox or a PlayStation because you're buying a walled garden. Like
It's all it would become a waiting game at that point, because the only thing that you would have at that point, if they're going the way that they are with a lot of this, is just how long you're going to have to wait for it to be unlocked from exclusivity.
Right. And if this is so, I have been using Steam OS for the longest time. I was there in its infancy whenever it was kind of decent to being really good. Using the Steam Deck and its current features, like a lot of the games you could just download and go.
Yep.
The game, everything will configure to your specs on your PC, just like Windows, and everything will basically run practically like a console. If you can take that experience,
yes,
and simplify it for the average user, and just use it as a console, and then every once in a while you can use it as a PC for custom, like
it's the ultimate portable workstation.
Essentially, yeah. There is no, again, there's just no reason to get any of these consoles. And people might be saying, well, wouldn't that make Steam more of a monopoly? That's a different conversation, but I could see that Steam could become a monopoly, and we could be called out because, I talk about Microsoft being a monopoly and how, Linux, the underdog, is cool to come out and everything like that. Steam is like that, but the difference is Steam has never really made hardware before like this. This is like their first time doing something like this. Now, would could that mean doom and gloom, or is that going to do something for the other consoles? Probably not. Steam is the underdog. They might have the majority of the PC market practically, which is true. Do you really play most of your games on the Epic Games Store, even though they offer you free games? No, you probably go and fucking play your shit on Steam. GOG has the whole no DRM, and you probably have your old games on GOG, but do you like to play most of your games on there? No, you're probably on Steam.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, it's, monopoly, yes, but I don't think Steam is necessarily like the bane of all evil.
Yeah.
They definitely don't seem like, they don't have their shittiness about them like Microsoft does.
Right.
Now, they could, there's always room for something to happen in the future. I won't dispute this.
They're very upfront with what they do, especially with how they handled this announcement today and how they presented this announcement. I will tell you for a fact, I don't think I've seen, one, such a seamless announcement. Two, I don't think I've ever seen an announcement quite this ergonomically amazing and straight to the point, no fluff, and then also having the documentation out the gate ready to go with no issue whatsoever. Just be like, here, have it. Like, there was no issue, there was no kickback, there was no anything that I could find wrong with how they delivered this announcement. Everything they did was just there, open, ready to go, and they're like, all right, let us know if you have any questions, wait until 2026. And they even give you the graphs and kind of the charts of how this thing's built, the tech specs and all the draw ups and everything. Just here you go. I don't think I've ever seen a company quite have such a seamless opening to an announcement quite like Steam has handled this system.
Right. And honestly, with the way that both of these big tech console manufacturers are going, it's kind of cool to see someone else throw their hat into the ring. They could be the next Sega. You know what I mean? Before the Dreamcast or the Saturn or whatnot, they can be the new kid. They could be the big boy competitors that give the other consoles a huge run for their money.
Oh yeah,
and
sure.
I hope so, because in my eyes, the more competition, the better. Because both Sony and Microsoft. Yeah, both Sony and Microsoft kind of both have their shit sides, and with a new kid on the block coming in with consoles, maybe it might force them to make a little more better decisions for the end user. So we all win as gamers in the end.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Not only does it open the door for Linux for people,
Yep.
but for people who don't give two shits about that, it brings...
What's wonderful about this system physically on the OS side of stuff is this means that every OS developer of every like version of Linux and stuff is now going to have these tech specs to work off of to improve their system compatibility even further with these different chipsets that this thing has, which is great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this machine. I'm highly optimistic about it, but I'm also, very enthusiastic about it as well. I cannot wait, and my dumbass is probably going to go out there and spend like the highest amount. I'm probably going to get every fucking thing for this thing.
Yep.
Minus the VR headset. I know you might want the VR headset, but I don't really care for VR.
I'm not going to use it for, believe it or not, if I do pick up the, I believe it's called the Steam Frame, the VR headset that they announced with it.
Yeah.
If I do pick it up with this system at some point in the future, one, it's not going to be at the same time. Two, if I do pick it up, it's not going to be for VR gaming purposes. I would use it as a virtual, laptop, so to speak. So I would do all my workflow in VR, or at least learn how to integrate that into the SteamOS environment for VR workflow, which I find would be very, one, interesting to figure out, and two, just cool to show off.
Are you talking about trying to use it like that overly expensive ass Apple computer thing that you can get for your thing?
Yeah.
Like, what is it called? The Apple Vision or whatever?
Yeah. Just trying to see how close I can replicate some of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Fuck it. If you could look over and see all your files on one side of your head, and then that could be a cool concept. And like I said, enthusiastic. That's the way that I'm looking at this. Something different than Windows is coming for the average casual experience and the gamer. And honestly, I cannot wait for 2026.
Yes.
We've only got it's November. We've only got, the end of till the end of the year, and then December, and then whenever the hell, I hope they just January they just drop this shit.
Yeah.
They said early.
I'm really hoping that with how open they were with this announcement, I really hope that they'll drop pre-orders in time for Christmas. That would be the ideal situation right now.
Right. This episode has gone on for so damn long, and I wish that there was more that I could talk about whenever it comes to Linux and everything like that. The truth is, I don't know, like maybe putting out an actual video guide of how we do things might be a cool little project for the pipeline.
Yep.
But
we've got honestly, a lot in the pipeline. We've always working on something.
Yeah, absolutely. But I hope that the key takeaway from listening to us rant about this random, stupid ass computer shit for however long we've done this is don't be afraid to, take a chance and leave your walled garden and try something new. And you might just be surprised on how good your old computer still is.
Yeah.
And, not being that advertisement guy for the Steam, for the Steam machine or the Gabe Cube.
Yep.
But, I'm enthusiastic and optimistic about it. I'm not a salesman. You spend your money however the hell you want. As an IT person, I'm in the mindset of what can I do that can basically give you to spend the least amount of money as possible. And that's what I like about Linux.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend money on it. It's free.
Yeah.
Where's that Robbie Rotten meme? Nothing. It's for free.
Yeah. I really just like it how, again, the presentation of this is really kind of what blew me away, because they were so chill and nothing was found to be wrong, and this was just so well received. Again, probably one of the cleanest announcement launches I've ever seen from a company in quite some time.
Yeah, seriously, it just came out of nowhere. They just came randomly in my fucking YouTube feed. I log into Steam one day.
Yeah,
and
because I got off my lunch break, and then I was like, "Ooh, this is cool." And then I dropped my cup of coffee because I'm like, "Wait, this is official. This isn't fake anymore." And then I sent it to you.
Yeah, I logged into Steam and I saw it, and I almost shat myself. I was like, "Are you? Holy fuck!"
Yep. Just the
Like,
just the fact that we're getting so much, at least with what this is being presented as, it's very again, small form factor because it's a cube, and then two, it's customizable, not just in kind of like what you can do with it, but like there's the SD card expansions, the you can swap out
it's the equivalent of a 4060 as far as I know.
About a 4060, 4070 from what I've seen from comparison charts, yeah.
Yeah, like I what I saw was like a 4060,
Yeah.
which the only thing I'm concerned about is the VRAM being only 8 gigs.
Right.
But for what it is, it could work.
That brings up another point that I wanted to touch on as well, that they kind of announced with this announcement. It was because of the announcement. Steam is going to be expanding their verification process to have everything that is verified be verified for the entire Steam family of systems now.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. But yeah, I don't know. This has been going on for so long, and I've already repeated myself so much about being a broken record. But I hope that this episode, again, just like the last time I went on a huge tangent and ranted about Linux and everything,
Yep.
Lumping in the Steam machine and everything like that, I hope that Linux grows in terms of the casual user experience.
Yeah.
Like, if you are a power user on your PC, then you're more than likely this isn't for you. Like, you already are probably using Linux, and all this is no shit Sherlock to you. But whenever we speak, we're speaking for the average, casual user experience, and we just hope that, honestly, the walls around Microsoft's walled garden crumble and people just try new things. Hell, I don't even care if it's a Mac. Like, just leave Windows and try something new.
Get out of here.
Tell them that the experience that you have isn't good enough and you want them to improve, and then they will. And then maybe
call
you can
them
come
out
back
for
to
their
Windows.
crap.
Yeah, exactly. Call them out for their shit. Don't let them just jerk you around and throw advertisements in your face and shove AI down your throat. Switch to a different OS that gives you the time that you it gives you everything that you need and actually respects your time using it.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about.
I find that especially with the expansion of like the Steam family and the Steam OS, beyond handhelds and like being able to go wherever you go, living rooms and stuff like that. I find Valve's strategy it'd be something that I would like to kind of like, discover more of, because Valve's strategy to me right now just seems very revolutionary with how it's battling its cultural and market impact right now, because I feel like Valve has probably handled their independent situation with everything that is happening in the world around it within its cohort sector very well.
I have a theory. How much do you want to bet when the Steam machine launches, they will put out their ISO for everyone to download?
They did talk
Steam
about
OS.
that. They did talk about that, didn't they? I guarantee. Yeah. Not at the announcement, no. But the downloadable ISO that you're speaking of, they did announce that a little bit while back. It would be the perfect time to do it. I guarantee you that's what they're doing. Yeah.
Because what if you don't want to buy the Steam, like you don't want to buy the Steam machine, but you would like to have the Steam machine experience on your rig?
Right.
Well, Linux is free and open source, and Valve has always been a fan of open source and everything like that.
And that
They've
Penguin
always
will hand deliver it to you directly for free.
I guarantee you, if they release the ISO of the Steam OS for all to download, that isn't just a recovery image for like their handhelds and stuff, right alongside the release of the Steam machine, then I think that we'll see a huge percentage increase in
for sure.
people using Linux in a sense of being gamers, like for sure, like it's going to be
Affordability is going to have a big impact on that, but I have a feeling that Lord Gaben is going to handle that very well considering his history.
Yeah, we'll see. We will definitely see. But I think I've ranted and raved about open source and Linux and everything like that for far too fucking long. The key takeaway from all of this, people, is don't be afraid to try something new. Please try something, like try out Cinnamon, or wait until the Steam machine drops and then launch into Steam OS if you're a gamer. If you're a casual person who just uses PCs, I think Cinnamon will be very good for everybody who just needs
across the board.
Like, yeah, for those of you who don't want to get rid of your Windows 10 machines, don't be afraid. Try it. I promise. Back up your files. Do what you got to do. You don't want to lose your important photos or documents. Right. Obviously, you just put them on flash drives. Sync them to your Google, you can put them in Google Drive or whatever cloud storage you want. But make the change. Do not throw out your old Windows 10 PCs. And for you gamer folks out there who probably listen to us, if you're ever interested in anything, if you get the new Steam machine, then honestly, have fun learning a completely new OS. It's nice to leave that Windows walled garden and try something new. And honestly, I cannot wait to hear stories of people making the plunge and trying something new and, expanding their horizons and just having fun with their computer. Having a computer doesn't have to be a frustrating affair, and Linux might seem that way, but if you take the time to learn it, I mean, just like anything, you'll get really good at it pretty quickly, and I can't wait to hear people's experiences.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, our things are always open on our on our socials to talk about this kind of stuff. For anyone who takes our advice and tries something, if you have questions, maybe shoot them our way. Maybe we can find a way to answer people directly about things like that. There is always a huge resource out there for getting into Linux that can teach you everything you need to know. Everything's all open and free to look at. And I don't know, I would like to find new ways to interject or, to interact with people who have more questions. So, I mean, ask away.
Yeah.
Tell your stories. Just shoot the shit with us on our socials, whatever the hell you want to drop.
Yeah. And as always remember, on our website, techandtactile.com, we have our complete contact form that you can always shoot our way that'll go directly to us for both of our inboxes if you wish to do it like a private DM style. All of our socials are always open. If you want to go down in the description below, we have our link tree. It's always linked. We have every link to all of our stuff, all of our channels, Twitch, Instagram, all that stuff. It's there, TikTok. We have everything everywhere, as well as, don't forget, as far as resources go, if you wish to reach out with any questions, or if you would like to see kind of the stuff that we've accumulated over the time that we've kind of been doing this over the last couple, coming up on a year now, not too long from now, but we have a whole resources page that has all of our resources anywhere between the tech field, the gaming field, and just kind of the general know-how. We have documentation, different links to different things, and all the things that would be approachable by all that would be within our realm of our community. So again, please never be afraid to reach out. We're always here. Just shoot us a message either on our website or over on one of our socials. We'll always take the time to respond. And as always, if you would like, leave a comment down below on any of our episodes.
Absolutely. With all that being said, it's getting late. Tired. Whenever I go in circles whenever I have whenever my brain starts shutting down like this. So I think I'm going to take this opportunity and unwind with a nice game of Vampire Survivors.
Yes.
And call it. So, I enjoyed this. This was great.
Indeed.
And
this was great.
Absolutely. So with that all being said, everyone stay accessible and get excited to try new things.
Indeed. Stay accessible, everyone.